So if you go on Amazon and you search for bass traps, you get this. Or this. These foam wedges. They call them bass traps, but really they don't absorb any bass at all. Hey, what's up? It's Jesko from AcousticsInsider.com, where I teach home studio acoustic treatment techniques for audio professionals, but without all the voodoo. And this is week 1 in my bass trap breakdown series, where I talk about every single type of bass trap out there, cut through all the nonsense, and hopefully allow you to make smart and evidence-based decisions on what type of bass trap you need for your studio. Of course, this entire series is accompanied by my complete guide to bass traps and bass trapping, which you can download for free at the link in the description. This is basically an encyclopedia where I neatly collected and describe all the different types of bass traps out there. So how to identify them and potential causes of confusion, how they work, how to use them in your studio, when to use them, how many you need, where to place them. It's all in there, and it's what we'll be covering in this series. So let's dive right in. The first one is the foam wedge, so-called bass traps that you can find pretty much anywhere on the internet. These are basically acoustic foam wedges, and they usually have these angled surfaces on the front that imply that they somehow diffuse sound that hits it. Now, just like all porous absorbers, they absorb sound velocity. So that means that they basically convert the movement of air molecules into heat by friction in this open cell foam. And that's what robs the sound wave of its energy and basically absorbs it. Now, here's the major problem with these types of bass traps, at least the typical ones that you can buy off Amazon. And that is that they just don't have the depth to actually absorb any bass. So this one has a side length of about 17 centimeters, about 6.7 inches. But even this slightly larger one has a side length of 10 inches, which is about 25 centimeters. So let's jump into the porous absorber calculator and just model what this depth actually does to the sound, how deep down it actually absorbs. With a 25 centimeter side length, I would say that the deepest point from the surface into the corner is about, 17 centimeters. So let's just put that in here and see what that does. So this is the absorption coefficient of this foam wedge if you put it into a corner, right? So we've got kind of maximum absorption, well, really at around 2K, but let's just say for argument's sake at around 200 hertz. And we've got an absorption coefficient of 0.5 at maybe 100 hertz. So this thing basically is an anything but a bass trap. It absorbs mids and highs really well, but it doesn't actually absorb any bass, no matter what you do with it. At least this one doesn't imply diffusion, right? So with these ones, they imply that with that angled surface, they will actually diffuse sound somehow. But obviously, in order to diffuse sound, you actually need to reflect sound. And since this doesn't reflect sound, this is just for aesthetics. This is just so that it looks like it does something in terms of diffusion, but it doesn't actually do anything at all. So how do you use them in your studio to absorb bass? Don't. When should you use them? Never. And ultimately, how many do you need? Well, none at all. So not only are these too shallow to absorb any bass, but they're actually expensive for what they are because they don't do the job. You're wasting money on something that doesn't work, at least not for how they sell it. Something to understand here is like, I'm not dissing porous absorption or acoustic foam. The problem is how they sell these and how they market them, because it's kind of like talking about the difference between a spoon and a fork, right? A spoon is a great tool to eat soup. Yeah, but if you want to eat soup, a fork isn't going to do you any good, no matter how often the company that produces the fork says that it's a spoon. It's just not a spoon. It's a great fork. It works great at absorbing mids and highs. Acoustic foam is perfect for those instances, but they just don't absorb any bass. So this is a real lie. This is misleading like nothing else when it comes to bass traps and products that are sold as acoustic treatment. Now, a quick side note, there are products out there that do absorb bass in this shape. And to give credit where credit is due, for example, Auralex makes their Leonard bass trap. Yeah, they make this one, the standard one, and they make the Mega Leonard. So the problem with these is more than anything just the price. The Leonard is also just kind of at the edge of a depth where I could say that they basically work, right? So these ones have a side length of, I believe, 1 foot, the standard Leonard, which is about 30 centimeters, which means the deepest point of these bass traps is about 21 centimeters deep. Yeah. So these ones work slightly better, right? So their point of 0.5 absorption coefficient as at maybe, what is that? Somewhere between 70 and 80 hertz. So you could say they're starting to absorb bass. And with the Mega Leonard, these ones actually have a side length of 2 feet, right? Which is about 60 centimeters. So now we're talking an average depth from the surface to the corner of about 42 centimeters. And as you can tell here, these ones do absorb bass. Not particularly well, but they do absorb bass. Obviously, if their flow resistivity is somewhat optimized for this depth, then they could potentially work better, right? But this is kind of outside of the scope of what I can tell from this product description and basically anything they say about these products. Of course, there's also the price. This thing costs $450 US. If I understand that correctly, that is for one of these shapes, one of these wedges. Just imagine the price you're paying in order to install just one full corner with these wedges, floor to ceiling, let's say. Okay, so now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about what actually works in terms of bass trapping and what is coming up in this series. So first of all, your standard porous material bass traps, right? If you make them deep enough, if you place them across a corner with an air gap, you can easily get absorption down to about 40 hertz. We're going to talk about variations of these, be it with a reflective front. There are also range limiters or scatter plates, how I like to call them diffuser fronts, sold by various companies. We're going to talk about resonance or pressure traps, so membrane traps or diaphragmatic traps, however you want to call them, sometimes called panel absorbers as well. We're going to talk about Helmholtz resonators, both perforated panels, slots, and holes. We're going to talk about proper Helmholtz resonators, Helmholtz tubes, but on top of that, also just limp membranes, free hanging membranes, or the rigid hanger, as is widely known for use in the non-environment control room design by Hidley. We're going to talk about plate resonators, sometimes called compound baffle absorbers, or in their original German name, Verbundplattenresonatoren. We're going to talk about active bass traps. And in particular, have a look out for this one because I've been testing the PSI Ava for an entire year now in 10 different studios. That's going to be an interesting one. We're going to talk about combined velocity and pressure traps. So when you're basically mounting a pressure trap in front of a porous absorber trap or the other way around, because they exist in both versions. And supposedly they give you the best of both worlds. We're going to find out together. So to recap, foam wedges are not bass traps unless you pay a ridiculous amount of money for them. But there are, of course, real bass trap types out there, both velocity and pressure and combined bass traps. And in this series, I'll show you how to spot them, how to use them, and ultimately help you, hopefully, make a smart choice about what bass trap type to use. That said, if you're ready to fix your low end once and for all, without wasting money and making your room sound dead, then I want you to check out my premium course, Build a Better Bass Trap. It's for anyone who's looked at off-the-shelf traps and thought, does this really work? Is it really worth the money? Couldn't I just build this myself? This course shows you how to design and build your very own combined bass trap diffuser that absorbs down into the very low end while keeping your room lively without killing its vibe. So if you want to save money, skip the confusion, and actually build something that genuinely improves how your mixes translate, check out my Build a Better Bass Trap course. That's where I'd start. Link in the description. All right, next week we'll dig into the real workhorse of home studio bass trapping, porous material traps, why they work so well and how to use them right. But with that, let's get back to learning to trust our ears and having fun making music in the studio. I'll see you in the next video.